So I want to share a word of encouragement for someone right now who's like, God, I've been obedient. I'm really giving my all. I'm serving in your house. I love you. Where's the blessing that you promised me? And if these are your words, they sound very similar to Zacharias and Elizabeth, which is coming from Luke chapter 1. You see, Zacharias was a priest and Elizabeth was one of the daughters of Aaron. It says that they were righteous before the Lord, they were obedient, kept his commandments and ordinances, and were blameless. But they did not have a child and they were of old age. And so still, it says that Zacharias continued to serve in the house of the Lord, the temple, and that the lot fell upon him and he was chosen to go into the temple and light the incense. And so as he goes in, it is the angel of the Lord that says, hey, Zacharias, your prayer has been heard. Elizabeth is going to conceive. You're going to have a child. You're going to name him John. And Zacharias is like, how's this going to happen? Like, how is this going to come about? But he said that in disbelief. As we know with Mary, she said that in belief because it says, blessed is she who believed that the fulfillment, right, of what was told her was going to come to pass in its time. But Zacharias did not believe, to the point that the angel of the Lord is like, I'm Gabriel. Not just I am Gabriel, who is in the presence of the Lord who is speaking to you. And because you doubt, you're gonna go mute and you're not gonna speak until the child is born. Gives him some instructions on how to raise John the Baptist and his name. So fast forward, he goes home, they conceive. 5 months later, Elizabeth's hiding out. Mary comes to her, and Mary had a very similar encounter as Zacharias, if not the same, except for she had a different belief system. Goes to Elizabeth. John is in the womb of Elizabeth and he leaps. If you don't know, read the book of Luke chapter 1. Beautiful. Why am I saying this? Why am I mentioning this? Because though Zacharias and Elizabeth were faithful in serving the Lord, they still had a desire. They still had a want, and that was for a child. They were obedient, it says they were righteous. They were blameless. They were giving the Lord still their all, and yet they were lacking a child. Their desire was not fulfilled until the angel of the Lord came to him. But he said one thing that tells us how perfect God's timing is. The pastor says, you live life forward and you understand it backwards. And looking at their story, we can understand it backwards because John the Baptist, the child that Elizabeth bore, his assignment was to prepare the way for Jesus Christ that was actually going to be born months later. So could it be that marriage that you're seeking and desiring, it's not that God is holding off, it's that he's aligning everything. Because maybe there's a generation that needs to see what a godly couple looks like. Maybe there's a generation that needs to see or needs to meet the child that you will bear. Maybe they need to be in divine connection, just like John the Baptist and Jesus Christ. So continue to serve, continue to be obedient, continue to live that blameless life before the Lord, continue to serve in his house. And now, instead of complaining and instead of allowing unbelief to settle in, give him thanks because you know that all things are working together for your good. Why? Because you love the Lord and you know that you are called according to his purpose. The book of Luke, chapter 1, is a phenomenal reminder that though you may not see or have received the blessing yet, 1, you know that it's coming. 2, you know God's timing is perfect. 3, you know he has not forgotten about you. And finally, you know that destiny is connected to that promise. Be encouraged. God bless.